Ketu in the 10th house. Guys, Ketu in the 10th house is probably one of those placements which is the most difficult to navigate in terms of the requirements of the material plane. Why is that? That's because Ketu in the 10th house shows that the native in this lifetime, your soul in this lifetime, has chosen to dissociate itself from an attachment to being the authority, from an attachment to being respected, from an attachment to being seen as a leader. Okay? Now, make no mistake, you are a natural leader. You are a natural workaholic. You are a natural authority on whatever field you choose to pick up, choose to excel in. It's just that your soul has done it so many times through previous lifetimes that this lifetime, your soul seeks to identify itself not through the achievement in the area of work, not through how you are seen, but how you feel within, how you feel with respect to what you want to create, what you want to build, what you feel are the necessary conveniences that enable us to have a great life. And you will see this pattern shown quite often with people who have this placement. Jordan Peterson is one example that comes to mind. Steve Jobs is another example that comes to mind. And there are a lot of others, but let's take these two first. So Steve Jobs and Jordan Peterson. You know what's common about both these people? Steve Jobs, definitely. The great Steve Jobs, one of the greatest, arguably the greatest entrepreneur of our times. And if you see his relationship with authority, if you see his relationship with being the boss, obviously it went through its share of ups and downs. He was fired from his own company. Figure that. Even with Jordan Peterson, he has often been criticized as being a right-wing philosopher, teacher, professor, when all he truly talks about is the need for individuals, the need for men in particular to be aggressive, to be decisive, to be incisive. Okay, and he has been widely criticized for these views. And in fact, in his Twitter handle was also, suspended. So this has been one of the patterns of all individuals who you will see even have Ketu transiting the 10th house. And you guys often ask me, does this also apply to transits? Transits are actually seen a little bit differently, and I'm going to talk about that, when I make a video on when I go to the series of the nodes and their transits over the houses. But this is one of the placements where you will see, even when Ketu is transiting through your 10th house, you will feel this quite a bit. You will feel that you're working quite a bit. You're giving yourself to what you want to do quite a bit. You're doing your best, and yet you do not see recognition. You do not see, the necessary credit being given. That's because when you got the South Node in the 10th, you without doubt are an individual who I can wake up in the middle of the night and ask to do what you do for a living, what you do for work, what's your profession. You'll be able to do it. You'll be able to perform. You'll be able to, on cue, just give me the performance that I want. But the thing is, something about your vibe that can set people off, that can put people off. Because with Ketu, with South Node, there is a certain level of, how to exactly put it, a certain level of straightforwardness, directness, this incisive honesty that is not well received by people. That kind of intimidates people. But if you have the South Node in the 10th house, let me tell you, if this placement is not working out for you, it's because you're trying too hard. You got to live a little. You got to focus a little bit more on what gives you happiness. For example, another great example, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Look at what happened with his movies. He was giving hits after hits after hits after hits. And I think that was the movie that he made, Black Adam. I'm not quite sure. Please, anybody who's familiar with it, comment, below. And his obsession with being this superhero and this tough guy kind of took a tumble. On the other hand, this is a guy who started off his career wanting to be an NBA player, not wanting to be an NFL player, and not being able to get that. And finally, he released that. He understood that, okay, maybe I'm not meant to be an NFL player. Maybe I should try my hand at my family business, and which is what? Wrestling. He became very good at wrestling. He became one of the most famous wrestlers, WWE at that time. And his own father hadn't expected that, right? He hadn't expected it. And then to leave that and go on to become a successful actor, a successful Hollywood actor, that is kind of the way in which the South Node functions. You have to release one thing to be able to receive the other. You fixate too much on one thing, you fixate too much on one career, and you're going to fixate too much on one identity that you want to put out in the world, and you're going to see yourself, not being taken as an authentic person, as if, no, this guy can't be real. There's definitely something that he's hiding. There's definitely some, secret agenda that he has. Okay? Why is that? That's because with the North Node in the 4th, you in this lifetime are meant to connect deeper with your authentic emotions. Your journey in this lifetime is also of building assets. Building assets that can give you the peace of mind that you want, or can give you the happiness that you want. One of the best examples that I can give you is Kevin Costner. And Kevin Costner, if you look at his filmography, he has played quite a bit of these tough guy, this mysterious, this compassionate patriarch, sort of roles. And, one of the roles that he's played to perfection in recent times has been in the series Yellowstone. If you haven't watched it, man, you really need to watch that. It's great. It's like, it is, if I could assign this placement as a role of the kind of person that you need to sort of embody, okay? It's what Kevin Costner plays in Yellowstone. He owns a huge ranch handed over to him by his forefathers, and then, he's against the world trying to take a piece of what's his. Kind of what the energy is here. With the South Node in the 10th house, you will often feel that people are taking advantage of your ability to give without asking. Your tendency to give first and then ask later. Okay? A lot of individuals can go through crises in terms of finding the right job, finding the right line of work, because they don't seem to hold down a job or a line of work. What do you do then? You start treating the South Node as a place where you just go to give. Whatever work you're doing, you're just doing it as a form of service. Kind of the way that Steve Jobs did, right? Towards the second part of his career, in the second innings at Apple, Steve Jobs' role was less about being the boss, but more about being the inventor who has something to offer to the world in terms of the problems that he's trying to solve. And a lot of these inventions that he came up with, like the smartphone, like the iPod, they sprouted from his deepest emotions as a result of conversations with his daughter, as a result of things that he felt within are required. Okay? For example, his obsession with being, technology being clean and simple. It's kind of, if you really look at it, how he was within as well. His obsession with following the fruitarian diet, because he thought that just being on a diet of fruits and salads is something that detoxifies you, naturally, and you don't need to do anything else. If you see, to quite an extent, it's the same thing which is reflected in his work as well. Make it smaller, make it sleeker, make it simpler. Now, make no mistake, if you have the South Node in the 10th house, it is pretty likely that in terms of career, in terms of what you're here to do, there is some unfulfilled karma that you're here to perform. It could be something as simple as coming out with a policy at a community level that was required and that nobody was acting on. Something as simple as, let's say, you spending your entire life just being a normal person, taking care of your kids, taking care of your family, and you retire and you just suddenly get this idea that, man, this intersection is it's very dangerous, there should be a stop sign here, and you actually go ahead and you're able to secure that stop sign, and that stop sign ends up saving many lives. Something as simple as that to something as big as actually contributing with a body of work, with a field of work that makes the world a better place, like Steve Jobs' inventions, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's movies. Okay, so one thing that you need to focus on here is that if you have this placement and your career is not going the best, you need to go within and start prioritizing how you want to feel and how you want your work to make you feel. It's going to be a difficult transition from naturally wanting to make it big, from naturally having big dreams that you want to accomplish. But if you shift the center, the locus of control within, and wake up to the realization that if I'm not able to get on the outside what I'm trying to accomplish, it's because there's some pieces inside that need to fall into place first. If you can do that, you will see all you have to do is show up with a sense of service. That's it. Show up with a sense of service, and you will see yourself surpass your expectations of what you were here to do, the kind of impact that you were here to generate. Okay, and right about the age of 47, 48 is where this placement actually works out the best, because by that time the south node has matured. By that time, most of the planets, you've learned how to deal with them in your chart. You've learned a lot about life, and you have the maturity to be respected quite often for the same ideas that you had when you were young, but people used to think that you're too cocky, that you're too dangerous, that you're a threat. Okay, so just become neutral with respect to your relationship to authority. That's really not the problem. The problem is you gotta have the pieces in here figured out. Okay, so that's all from my end. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel so that you can stay abreast of all the wonderful content that I post here. I post a lot of content here. In fact, do check out the links given in the description box to my website, the articles over there, to my books. There's a ton of different kinds of stuff that I do. You should, you're encouraged to go and explore it. If you want a personal session with me, you can do so by checking out the link given here in the description box. Thank you so much. Take care. Adios.